Before I start this video, I just want to say that if you can hear the cricket in the background, I apologize. He's just kind of living his life, and I've asked him to be quiet, but it's really not working, so I do apologize if you can hear that. Hopefully it's quiet enough on camera that you can't, but anyway, in today's video, I wanted to talk about Shaddoll Dinosaurs, and man, this deck's so much fun. Like, I just think Dinosaurs were like such a cool idea from Konami. Last year we got the structure deck, and they've ended up being one of the best rogue decks on a budget for a while now. If you bought this structure deck when it came out, you just got so much value. It's pretty much always been playable since they've released Solid and Overraptor and all those cards. But yeah, Shaddolls are really good right now. Winda is super hard for Trickstars to out. Just in general, cards with more than 1900 attack are hard for Trickstars to deal with. I know it's kind of a joke, but also it's kind of true. They just don't have a lot of big monsters, and their main way of dealing with opponents' monsters that are large is through the use of Scapegoat, and that doesn't really work when you have Winda up, so it's I think this is a pretty good meta call, and yeah, I just like Dinosaurs a lot, so I've been playing this on stream the past couple days. We've actually won quite a lot of games. I don't think it's like the best rogue deck, but I think it's one of the better rogue decks, and I just wanted to profile it for you guys because a couple people asked about it. First off, 3 Solid and Overraptor. I don't think I really need to explain that, so I won't. I love the profiles that say, I don't need to explain that, and then they still explain it, but yeah, we won't explain that. 3 Conductor. Some people play 2. I think it's fine playing at 3. This is just like the card. There's like a lot of cards in this deck where you just want to have as many of them in your hand as possible to keep playing through your opponent's negations. So there's like the pills, pretty much all the spells actually, but Ultimate Conductor Tyranno in itself is actually pretty good, because like if you summon one and they kill it, you can summon the second one, banishing the first one. You can just keep summoning this guy, and this is like the main reason that this deck is good, is because this card is just way too hard to deal with for a lot of decks. 2 copies of Overtext. A lot of people do play 3, a lot of people play 2. The community seems to be pretty split on it. I've seen arguments for both. I myself have played 3 in the past, but I think at the end of the day, 2 copies is probably the right amount. And then 1 Giant Rex. So we're not playing the Gold Sark engine. I needed to cut it for space, and also like it wasn't always that impactful. The main issue with the Gold Sark engine is that like it was good when you just drew Gold Sark, but if you drew Giant Rex in Gold Sark, or you had a Giant Rex engraved that you wanted to banish and you drew Gold Sark, it basically was just like 2 cards in your hand doing the same thing. Not really what you want in this type of deck. You just want every card in your hand to be doing a powerful thing, but a different thing. So because Giant Rex is a hard once per turn, having multiple copies able to be banished in one turn didn't really do a lot. And then 1 Dogoron. This card's really good right now. Just in general, Kaijus are, I think they're sort of underrated. The boss monsters of today aren't really that big, but the reason the Kaijus are good is because if your opponent has like a Widow Anchor set, you can just give them a Kaiju, and then now they have a monster in the main monster zone, and they can't activate any of their Sky Striker cards. But yeah, that's it for the Dinosaurs. There's not really any others you can play. Like, I guess you can play like Miscellaneousaurus, and like I was at one point, even in this build, just as like more as like a hand trap to stop your guys from being destroyed or anything like that. But it's just like not consistent enough, and I just, with a type of deck like this, you're always going second, so Miscellaneousaurus just wasn't as important. Usually you just want to have as many live cards in your hand that you can just throw down on the table. Miscellaneousaurus wasn't really like that. We are playing the Dark Warrior engine, so 2 Armageddon Knight, and I'm trying out 1 Greffer. This card's okay. You can discard Overtext, or you can discard Shaddoll Beast to summon this card from your hand. It's just like another summon, and can put Dinosaurs in grave. A lot of times you end up having to banish like a card from your hand, unfortunately a card from your hand, for the Pill spell card, and you might as well just put it in the graveyard to get an extra summon. A lot of times you leverage the Greffer into either Armageddon Knight or Solid and Overraptor, and then you make Diamond Direwolf to get them engraved, and that has a bunch of fodder for the Pill and stuff like that. So yeah, these cards are fine. You play, instead of playing 3 copies of Armageddon Knight or 2 copies of Greffer, we are playing just 1 Rhoda, so you have essentially 2 copies of Greffer and 3 copies of Armageddon Knight, just without the same level of clogginess that would happen if you played actually 3 copies of those guys. Next up, the Shaddoll monsters. So we have 2 Shaddoll Beasts, 1 Shaddoll Dragon, and 1 Shaddoll Hedgehog. These cards are not that great. I mean, Beast is certainly good and Dragon's okay. The problem with Dragon is that, like, yeah, in theory, it's good if you can, like, force your opponent to use a Scapegoat, because you'll probably just kill them. The problem is though, if you target a Scapegoat with Shaddoll Dragon and you're playing Dinosaurs, your opponent probably won't activate it if they're smart, because then they'll take 4,000 damage. Maybe they just like don't know what these cards do and you'll just kill them. But if they do know what they're doing, they're not going to chain it. You need the Hedgehog because when you go into Shekinaga, you need to send Hedgehog to add Beast, so you actually have something to discard for the Shekinaga. And yeah, I don't know, I've seen some builds that were playing like a lot more of these cards, and then they played like Allure of Darkness to sort of circumvent that drawback of playing like a bunch of bricks. But I think it's actually just better to just play less copies of them. And last monster was 3 Ash Blossom. I think it's just the most universal hand trap right now. This deck probably could play Droll, but I don't know, Droll's like so awkward for me. Like I don't like that it's like a -1 every single time. Yeah, it's like a tempo card, but I don't know, if you can't kill your opponent after you Droll them, you're just like down a card and doesn't really do anything. But Ash Blossom is pretty good. You can Ash Blossom the Candina usually, but it's just a solid card in general. For the spell cards, we have 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Card's insane in this deck particularly. So you Shaddoll Fusion, because your opponent always is going to have like one of the Sky Striker Link monsters. That's like the whole point of the engine. So you Shaddoll Fusion, and then you make Winda, which is like impossible for them to deal with. Then you send like Beast or Dragon, and then you also send the Overtext. So you add Pill to your hand. Now you have a Dinosaur and a Shaddoll monster in grave. So you can activate the Pill and then just like kill your opponent because you have Winda and like a Conductor or something like that. Speaking of, we are playing 3 copies of the Pill. So this is like if you can open like Shaddoll Fusion, your opponent's an extra deck monster, or if you can open Shaddoll Fusion Pill when your opponent doesn't have an extra deck monster, a lot of times you can just like kill your opponent. And man, yeah, this card's nuts. Like it sucks when it gets ashed, like I'm not gonna lie, but both these cards are just so good. Like the ideal hands are like a good level 4 normal summon, and then both of these cards and like an ultimate Tyranno, and that lets you just play through like 4 different things and hopefully just end your turn with a big dinosaur and kill them. 3 copies of Fossil Dig, obviously. Yeah, your only target is the Giant Rex and the Oviraptor, but I mean, it's obviously, you just need copies of those cards, so it's really good. And then 3 copies of Twinisters. This card's really good right now. It's good against Altergeist, obviously. It's good against most rogue decks, but it is actually really good against Sky Strikers, both the pure version and the Trickstar version. It's just so good to hit like a bunch of cards, especially because like I said, you're always going to second, so you always have a 6 card to discard with Twinisters. Makes this card really valuable. 2 Call by the Grave. I absolutely would play 3 if I somehow could fit 3 copies in. That's nearly impossible though. It's hard enough playing this deck at 40 cards. There's like 45 to 47 cards that I actually want to play, but we want to be as consistent as possible. We want to draw those big bomb cards like Shaddoll Fusion and the Pill card as often as possible, so you don't really need to play more than 40. This card's really good. Mainly you just hold this until they ash the Pill, and then you can just hopefully kill them. For the power 1-ofs, Monster Reborn, Foolish Burial, Rhoda. These cards are all fantastic. Foolish Burial in particular is like probably the most versatile card in this entire deck. It's kind of like, I mean, it's like the worst explanation for Foolish Burial ever, but it's like half a Shaddoll Fusion that you can always activate. And what I mean by that is that like Foolish Burial can be like a Rhoda, because you can send Shaddoll Hedgehog. It can be an Upstart Goblin by sending the Shaddoll Beast. It can be an MST by sending the Shaddoll Dragon. It can be a search for the Pill by sending Overtext to the graveyard. It just does like everything, and the Monster Reborn is obviously just ridiculous in these types of decks. And no Soul Charge because we're going second blind, but I think it's not like the worst card to play. It's just like we're going second, so like we don't really have like the luxury of just not attacking. However, if a card like Evenly Match exists, we'll give up a battle phase for this. I mean, this card, I know it seems like counterintuitive to play a card that skips, well, it doesn't technically skip your battle phase, but you basically skip your battle phase to play this card. But man, like, this card's just so good when it resolves. I mean, you won't always draw Shaddoll Fusion, you won't always draw Pill, and in the hands where you don't have like as strong a start and you can't OTK your opponent, it's just so darn good to evenly match them down to 1 card, especially if like it's an extra deck monster. And this card just gets rid of all their back row. It's just super, super powerful. This deck, it does have a problem. Like the biggest problem with Dinosaurs, the reason it isn't like super competitive, like it's not like the best deck in the format, and it only tops like once at a YCS, like per event. It doesn't top like, there's not like 5 of them in the top cut. The reason is that the deck just burns out. Like it can't really do much past like the 4th turn. It doesn't have enough cards to actually keep you in the game. But you do have like 4 turns before you burn out. So if you waste one of them, getting your opponent down to 1 card and getting like a +5 in card advantage, it's definitely worth it. You can just like set up a pretty sizable board, usually like a rank 4 and then like a Conductor or Overtext, and then you can just kill them on your next turn. So it's still like a 2-turn lethal, and just, yeah, this card's just way too good right now. all the decks are just like, especially the Sky Striker variants, are just like putting all of their cards on the board, and they just don't worry about evenly matched. Not a lot of decks are maining evenly matched right now, so you can take advantage of that. For the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Winda and 1 copy of Shekinaga. Honestly, you'll probably only ever make just like 1 copy of Winda, and you probably just win the game. It seems like in the past when I played this deck, and I've given this deck to my friend twice to borrow at regionals, and it just seems like whenever you summon Winda, you probably just win the game, because like you just get so much advantage off of Shaddoll Fusion. So really you don't use these cards too often besides the first copy of Winda, but it comes up every once in a while, so it's worth playing the extra copies. For the rank 4s, we play Diamond Direwolf, which is really good because it gets it out of the extra monster zone. Dweller is like okay, it's pretty good against True Dracos, obviously. This deck actually just has an insane True Draco matchup because you main the Kaiju, and even though that deck doesn't have Masterpiece, Kaijus are still really good against it, but also the Dweller. Castel, Logia, Dolka, these cards are really good. Logia just gets like worse as time goes on. It just like, it sounds weird, but like one card that like negates everything but monster effects like just isn't quite good enough. Monster effects are just so big right now, and Dolka really makes a big difference because not only does it negate monster effects, but also negates 2 monster effects, which is just incredible value out of 1 card. The most important card in the whole extra deck is Gaga Samurai. This is like the kill card. It does 38 damage. That's ridiculous, and yeah, Gaga Samurai is like really, really important, so don't just not play that. And then Utopia, sorry for bumping the camera, and Utopia the Lightning. One card that's missing, this is a 14 card extra deck. I should just mention this. I'm sure people, a couple of people will just not listen with audio or something and not hear this, but I'm not playing Tornado Dragon because I don't own a copy. Every time, I don't know, I haven't played any rank 4 decks recently besides this one, but like I always just let my friend borrow it, and he has a Tornado Dragon, so I haven't picked one up yet. But yeah, you should play Tornado Dragon as well as all of these, but it is a 14 card extra deck. I didn't bother replacing that card because I do think it's actually just super important to play Tornado Dragon. For the Link monsters, Underclock Taker, this card's actually unfair with Conductor. It's just like, people don't think of that interaction. People just think of Underclock Taker as like a decent Link 2 monster, but the interaction with Conductor is just like really unfair. Nightmare Phoenix, it's just like, I mean, it's like the Link monster version of Tornado Dragon. It's pretty good for discarding stuff too. And then Decode Talker. This is like another card that you do when you like OTK. A lot of times the boards that you have are going to be Decode Talker and then Conductor with 1 arrow and then like a random monster with the other arrow. So that Decode Talker is 3,300, Conductor is 35, and like attacks a million things. And then hopefully the random monster that you have can actually like finish your opponent off. In most cases, that's pretty much true. But anyway, that is pretty much going to wrap up this deck profile. I really do think this deck is fantastic. I do think Dinosaurs, every time someone asks me like what should I play if I'm getting back in this game, I just tell them Dinosaurs because it's like it does exactly what a structured deck should do, where like you can buy 3 copies, you can play a pretty competent deck, but then when you invest more into the game, you can buy the Shaddoll cards, and then the deck's like way better. And then when you invest more in the game, you can get like Ash Blossom and Evenly Matched, and the deck's like really, really good. And I think that that's exactly what like a structured deck should do. I think Konami did a really great job in it because you can build like a pretty decent budget version of this. I think the deck that comes up a lot on people, not to make this like a video essay, but I think a lot of people think of like the ABC structure deck. They think of like good structure decks from recent memory, but the problem is the ABC structure deck is actually pretty bad besides the ABC cards, whereas the Dinosaur one has a ton of good stuff like Quaking Mirror Force and Twin Twisters and all that sort of stuff. So I think the Dinosaur one is definitely a better value if you're looking to just pick up 3 structure decks and play the deck. But anyway, I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.